Amelia Raines had always been driven, her sharp intellect and unwavering determination propelling her to the forefront of human diplomacy. As one of the youngest ambassadors ever appointed to the Galactic Council, she was acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead. The Galactic Council, a coalition of the most technologically advanced alien civilizations, had for centuries maintained a firm grip on the political and economic landscape of the known galaxy. They viewed humanity as little more than a primitive, insignificant species, a necessary nuisance to be tolerated, but never truly respected. Amelia knew that changing the Council's perception of her people would require a delicate touch and an unparalleled strategic mind. She spent countless hours studying the intricate web of alliances and power dynamics that governed the Council's decision-making. With each passing day, her understanding of the alien factions deepened, and her resolve to elevate humanity's standing grew stronger. It was during one of her routine briefings with the President of the United Nations Space Command that Amelia first learned of the disturbing rumors surrounding the Galactic Council's treatment of alien children. Whispers of abductions, forced experimentation, and unspeakable cruelty had filtered through the diplomatic channels, but concrete evidence remained elusive. "I need to see this for myself, Mr. President," Amelia said, her hazel eyes narrowing with determination. "If these allegations are true, the human race cannot stand idly by. We must take action." The President nodded gravely, his weathered features etched with concern. "I understand your desire for answers, Ambassador Raines, but you must tread carefully. The Galactic Council wields immense power, and they will not take kindly to any perceived provocations from humanity." Amelia's jaw tightened. "I am well aware of the risks, sir, but I cannot, in good conscience, ignore the possibility that innocent lives are being destroyed. This is a matter of basic human decency." After a long moment of consideration, the President sighed. "Very well, Ambassador. I will authorize a covert diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council's homeworld. You will have full access to our intelligence network and the latest in stealth technology. But I must insist that you exercise the utmost caution. The fate of our entire species may rest on your shoulders." Amelia nodded, her expression resolute. "I understand, sir. I won't let you down." Over the next few weeks, Amelia immersed herself in the final preparations for her mission. She pored over satellite imagery, intelligence reports, and diplomatic protocols, leaving no stone unturned. The stakes were too high for any mistakes. As the day of her departure drew near, Amelia found herself overcome with a mixture of trepidation and determination. She knew that what she was about to uncover could irrevocably change the course of human Galactic Council relations, for better or for worse. But she was willing to take that risk, no matter the personal cost. On the day of her departure, Amelia stood before the assembled diplomatic corps, her gaze unwavering. "I go now to uncover the truth, no matter the consequences. If I do not return, know that I have done so in service of our people and the protection of the innocent." With those parting words, Amelia Raines boarded the state-of-the-art stealth shuttle, its sleek, angular hull cutting through the atmosphere with barely a whisper. As the shuttle climbed higher, she gazed out the window, her eyes fixed on the receding form of Earth, her home. The journey to the Galactic Council's heavily guarded homeworld was arduous, requiring Amelia and her small team to navigate a treacherous web of patrols and sensor arrays. But her training, coupled with the advanced technology at their disposal, allowed them to evade detection and reach their destination unscathed. As the shuttle touched down on the alien planet, Amelia took a deep, steadying breath. The air was thick with the scent of exotic flora and the hum of advanced technology. Stepping out onto the landing platform, she was struck by the sheer scale and grandeur of the Galactic Council's citadel, its towering spires and gleaming domes a testament to the aliens' technological prowess. Amelia and her team quickly blended in with the bustling diplomatic traffic, their modified uniforms and carefully rehearsed mannerisms, allowing them to pass as members of the Council's staff. Navigating the labyrinthine corridors, they made their way towards the heart of the citadel, where the Council's most sensitive operations were rumored to take place. As they approached a heavily guarded checkpoint, Amelia's heart began to race. This was the moment of truth. If their ruse was uncovered, they would be lucky to escape with their lives. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, her diplomatic credentials in hand. "Greetings, honored council representatives," Amelia said, her voice calm and assured. "I have been summoned to the inner sanctum for a private briefing with the Sovereign Council. My clearance has been expedited." The alien guards eyed her with suspicion, their reptilian features twisted in a frown. For a moment, Amelia feared that their cover had been blown. But then, with a curt nod, the guards stepped aside, allowing them to pass. As they navigated the winding corridors, Amelia could feel the weight of their mission bearing down on her. They were close now, so close to uncovering the truth. But what they might find, she could scarcely imagine. Suddenly, a distant cry pierced the air, a sound that chilled Amelia to the bone. It was the unmistakable sound of a child in distress, a sound that no parent should ever have to hear. Exchanging a quick glance with her teammates, Amelia steeled her resolve and pressed onward, following the echoes of that haunting sound. The deeper they delved into the Citadel's inner sanctum, the more the air seemed to thicken with a palpable sense of unease. The hallways were lined with heavily armed guards, their eyes scanning the area with unwavering vigilance. Amelia could feel the sweat beading on her brow, but she refused to let her composure slip. At last, they reached a set of heavily fortified doors, behind which the cries had grown louder and more desperate. Amelia's fingers trembled as she reached for the access panel, her mind racing with a million possible scenarios. What horrors might they find on the other side? With a soft hiss, the doors slid open, and Amelia's world shattered. The sight that greeted them was nothing short of a nightmare. Rows of cages, each containing a terrified alien child, lined the cavernous chamber. The children, their eyes wide with terror, huddled in the corners, their delicate bodies bearing the marks of unspeakable experiments and torture. Amelia felt her stomach lurch, bile rising in her throat. She had known, deep down, that the rumors were true, but the reality of it was far worse than she could have ever imagined. Beside her, her teammates stood frozen, their faces a mask of horror and disbelief. For a long moment, no one dared to move, as if the very act of acknowledging the atrocity before them would make it all too real. But then, a soft whimper from one of the cages shattered the silence, and Amelia felt a surge of rage coursing through her veins. "We have to get them out of here," she hissed, her voice trembling with barely contained fury. "We can't leave them to suffer." Her teammates nodded, their expressions hardening with determination. As one, they sprang into action, quickly and efficiently disabling the security systems and opening the cages. The children, sensing their opportunity, fled their confines, their tiny bodies shaking with a mixture of relief and terror. Amelia watched, her heart breaking, as the children huddled together, their eyes darting around the room in fear. She longed to comfort them, to wrap them in her arms, and shield them from the horrors they had endured. But she knew that their mission was far from over. "We need to get these children to safety," she said, her voice low and urgent. "But first, we must gather as much evidence as we can. The human race needs to know the truth about the Galactic Council's atrocities." Her teammates nodded, quickly setting to work, documenting every detail of the chamber, from the advanced medical equipment to the chilling restraints that had been used to hold the children captive. Amelia, meanwhile, approached the terrified children, her movements slow and gentle. "It's all right," she whispered, her voice soothing. "We're here to help you. You're safe now." The children, sensing the warmth and compassion in her words, slowly began to relax, their big eyes peering up at her with a glimmer of hope. Amelia's heart swelled with a fierce, protective instinct, and she knew in that moment that she would stop at nothing to ensure their safety. As her team completed their documentation, Amelia ushered the children towards the exit, her gaze hardening with determination. The human race had been complacent for far too long, content to ignore the Galactic Council's abuses, but no more. The time had come for humanity to rise up and demand justice, no matter the cost. With the children safely aboard the stealth shuttle, Emilia turned to her teammates, her expression grim. "We have what we need," she said, her voice laced with a quiet fury. "Now we return to Earth and expose the Galactic Council's true face to the world. It's time for humanity to show them the true meaning of vengeance." The journey back to Earth was a tense and harrowing one for Emilia and her team. With the rescued alien children huddled in the shuttle's cramped quarters, they knew that their every move was being watched, both by the Galactic Council's forces and by their own government's intelligence agencies. Emilia had been debriefed extensively before her mission, but nothing could have prepared her for the horror she had witnessed in the Galactic Council's inner sanctum. The images of those terrified, tortured children were seared into her mind, a constant reminder of the unspeakable cruelty that the so-called leaders of the galaxy were capable of. As the shuttle pierced the blackness of space, Emilia pored over the evidence they had gathered, her brow furrowed in concentration. The data they had collected was damning, exposing the Galactic Council's systematic abduction and experimentation of alien children from across the galaxy. The scale of the atrocities was staggering, and Emilia knew that the human race would be shaken to its core when the truth was finally revealed. But even as she grappled with the gravity of their findings, Emilia couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation. The Galactic Council was a formidable foe, wielding unimaginable technological and military might. What would they do when they discovered that their dark secrets had been uncovered? Would they retaliate with the full force of their power, crushing humanity's fledgling efforts to challenge their dominance? Emilia shook her head, dispelling the dark thoughts that threatened to consume her. She had to remain focused, to ensure that the evidence they had gathered would be properly safeguarded and disseminated to the human authorities. Only then could they hope to rally the international community and mount a proper response to the Galactic Council's atrocities. As the shuttle touched down on the outskirts of the United Nations Space Command's headquarters, Emilia and her team were greeted by a contingent of high-ranking military and diplomatic officials, their faces tense with anticipation. Ambassador Rains, the UNSC president, said, his voice grave, "We've been monitoring the situation closely. What have you discovered?" Emilia took a deep, steadying breath. "The rumors are true, Mr. President. The Galactic Council is engaging in the systematic abduction and torture of alien children, all in the name of scientific advancement. The evidence we gathered is beyond horrific." The president's expression darkened, his jaw tightening with barely contained rage. "I see. And the children?" "Safe for now," Emilia replied, casting a worried glance towards the shuttle's hatch. "But we need to act quickly to ensure their continued well-being and to prepare for the Galactic Council's inevitable retaliation." The president nodded, his eyes narrowing. "Very well. We'll convene an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council immediately. This atrocity cannot be allowed to stand." In the days that followed, the human world was plunged into a frenzy of activity as the damning evidence gathered by Emilia and her team was disseminated across the globe. Governments scrambled to coordinate a unified response, while the media outlets worked tirelessly to raise public awareness of the Galactic Council's horrific crimes. The outrage that swept through the human populace was palpable, a seething tide of rage and determination that threatened to boil over at any moment. Protests erupted in major cities across the world, as citizens demanded that their leaders take immediate action to hold the Galactic Council accountable. Emilia found herself at the center of the maelstrom, her face plastered across news screens and her words echoing through the halls of power. She had become the face of humanity's righteous fury, a symbol of the unwavering resolve that had taken root in the hearts of her people. Yet, even as the international community rallied behind her, Emilia knew that the true battle was yet to come. The Galactic Council, with their vast resources and unparalleled technological superiority, would not go down without a fight. And when they struck back, the consequences would be catastrophic. As the United Nations Security Council convened, Emilia stood before the assembled representatives, her expression grave. Honored delegates, we have uncovered the most heinous crimes imaginable, perpetrated by the very entity that has claimed to be the guardians of our galaxy. The Galactic Council, in their arrogance and disregard for the sanctity of life, have subjected countless alien children to unimaginable tortures, all in the name of their twisted pursuit of scientific advancement. Emilia paused, her gaze sweeping across the room, meeting the eyes of each delegate in turn. These are not the actions of a benevolent governing body, but rather the depraved machinations of monsters hiding behind a veneer of civility. And I, for one, refuse to stand idly by while these atrocities continue. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of murmurs and shouts as the delegates struggled to process the gravity of Emilia's revelations. The president of the UNSC raised his hand, silencing the room. Ambassador Rains, your testimony is deeply disturbing, and we must act with the utmost urgency. However, we must also consider the ramifications of confronting the Galactic Council directly. Their military might is unparalleled, and any direct action on our part could result in the annihilation of our species. Emilia's eyes narrowed, her jaw set with determination. Mr. President, I understand your concerns, but we cannot allow fear to cripple us in the face of such evil. The Galactic Council has exploited our reluctance to engage them for far too long. It is time for humanity to stand up and show them the true depth of our resolve. The delegates erupted into heated debate, the air thick with tension as they grappled with the implications of Emilia's words. Some argued for a diplomatic approach, seeking to negotiate with the Galactic Council and appeal to their sense of morality. Others, however, advocated for a more forceful response, calling for the immediate mobilization of human military forces to confront the alien tyranny head-on. Amidst the chaos, Emilia remained steadfast, her eyes burning with a righteous fire. She knew that the time for diplomacy had passed, that the Galactic Council had long since forfeited any claim to moral authority. In their eyes, humanity was nothing more than a primitive species, unworthy of their consideration. And now, they would learn the true cost of their arrogance. As the debate raged on, Emilia's mind raced, formulating a plan of action that would strike at the very heart of the Galactic Council's power. She knew that the path ahead would be fraught with peril, that the stakes had never been higher. But she also knew that the human race had never shied away from a challenge, and that their capacity for innovation and determination was unmatched. Finally, the president raised his hand, silencing the chamber. It is clear that we cannot allow the Galactic Council's crimes to go unanswered. However, we must also consider the potential consequences of our actions. Any misstep could lead to the annihilation of our species. Emilia stepped forward, her eyes blazing with conviction. Mr. President, I understand your concerns, but I also know that the human race has never been one to back down in the face of adversity. We have faced countless challenges, from the depths of our own history to the vast expanse of the cosmos, and we have always emerged victorious. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembled delegates. The Galactic Council has underestimated us for far too long. They have viewed us as nothing more than primitive savages, unworthy of their consideration. But now, they will learn the true meaning of humanity's wrath. Emilia's words hung in the air, a clarion call to action that resonated within the hearts of every delegate present. The UNSC president met her gaze, a glimmer of understanding dawning in his eyes. Very well, Ambassador Rains. You have our support, but I must caution you. The path ahead will be fraught with peril, and the cost may be higher than any of us can imagine. Emilia nodded, her expression resolute. I understand the risks, Mr. President, but I also know that the fate of our species and the countless innocent lives that hang in the balance demand that we take action. The Galactic Council's reign of terror ends today. With those words, Emilia turned and strode from the chamber, her mind already racing with the details of the plan she had conceived. The human race was about to embark on a crusade unlike any the galaxy had ever seen, and she would be at the forefront of the charge. The news of the Galactic Council's atrocities against alien children rippled through the human populace like a shockwave, igniting a firestorm of outrage that threatened to consume the very foundations of society. From the bustling cities to the remote corners of the world, the people of Earth united in a collective cry for justice, their voices rising in a deafening chorus that could no longer be ignored. In the wake of Amelia Raine's harrowing testimony before the United Nations Security Council, the governments of the world were forced to confront the stark reality of the situation. The Galactic Council, once seen as an enigmatic but benevolent governing body, had been unmasked as a cabal of ruthless, power-hungry tyrants, willing to trample the sanctity of life in pursuit of their twisted scientific ambitions. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Protests erupted across the globe, with millions taking to the streets to demand that their leaders take immediate action. The airwaves were flooded with impassioned calls for retribution, as commentators and pundits alike denounced the Galactic Council's actions in the harshest of terms. But it was not just the general public who were roused to action. The world's governments, faced with the undeniable evidence of the Galactic Council's crimes, quickly mobilized their diplomatic and military resources, determined to chart a course of action that would bring the alien coalition to justice. Amelia Raine's, her face now a familiar sight across all major news outlets, found herself at the very center of the maelstrom. Hailed as a hero by the human masses, she became the de facto spokesperson for a movement that had transcended national boundaries, uniting humanity in a common cause. Yet, even as she basked in the adulation of her fellow citizens, Amelia knew that the true battle was yet to come. The Galactic Council, with their vast resources and unparalleled technological prowess, would not surrender their power without a fight. And when they struck back, the consequences would be catastrophic. In the halls of power, the debates raged on, as world leaders grappled with the complex and far-reaching implications of confronting the Galactic Council. Some advocated for a diplomatic solution, arguing that the path of negotiation and appeasement was the only way to avoid a devastating conflict. Others, however, insisted that the time for diplomacy had long since passed, and that only a decisive military-led response could hope to deter the alien coalition's aggression. Amelia, her resolve unwavering, found herself at the forefront of the latter camp. Drawing upon her deep well of knowledge and her unwavering commitment to the cause, she tirelessly lobbied her fellow delegates, presenting a compelling case for a bold, uncompromising stance against the Galactic Council. "The Galactic Council has shown us their true face," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "They are not the benevolent guardians they have claimed to be, but rather the architects of a horrific, systematic campaign of cruelty and oppression. And we, as the representatives of the human race, have a moral obligation to stand up and confront them, no matter the cost." Amelia's words, laced with a righteous fury that belied her diplomatic training, struck a chord with the assembled delegates. One by one, they rose to their feet, their expressions hardening with determination. "Ambassador Raines is right," the president of the UNSC declared, his voice commanding the attention of the room. "The time for half measures has passed. We must act, and we must act with the full force of our collective might." The chamber erupted in a thunderous round of applause, the delegates' faces alight with a newfound sense of purpose. Amelia, her heart pounding with a mixture of trepidation and resolve, knew that the die had been cast. The human race was about to embark on a crusade unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. In the days that followed, the world's governments and military forces mobilized with a speed and efficiency that belied the fractious nature of international politics. Amelia found herself at the center of the planning and coordination efforts, her diplomatic skills and strategic acumen proving invaluable as the human race prepared for its confrontation with the Galactic Council. The plan, conceived in the highest echelons of power, was bold and audacious, a daring strike that would target the very heart of the Galactic Council's power, crippling their ability to wage war and shattering the illusion of their invincibility. At the forefront of this campaign was a specialized task force, drawn from the most elite military units across the globe. Equipped with the latest in cutting-edge technology and weaponry, these soldiers were the vanguard of humanity's crusade, trained to operate in the most treacherous of environments and to neutralize the Galactic Council's formidable defenses. As the final preparations were made, Emilia found herself consumed by a whirlwind of activity, coordinating the efforts of her diplomatic and military counterparts with a precision that belied her relative youth. Her days were a blur of briefings, tactical planning, and frantic communications as she worked tirelessly to ensure that every last detail was accounted for. Yet, even amidst the chaos, Emilia never lost sight of the true purpose of their mission: the protection of the innocent children who had suffered at the hands of the Galactic Council. The haunting images of their terrified faces, the echoes of their desperate cries, fueled her determination and steeled her resolve. "We will not fail them," she vowed, her voice low and fierce. "The Galactic Council will pay for their crimes, and the children will be freed, no matter the cost." As the day of the confrontation drew near, the tension within the human ranks reached a fever pitch. Emilia could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down upon her, the fate of her species resting squarely upon her shoulders. But she refused to be cowed, her unwavering confidence in her fellow humans only growing stronger with each passing moment. On the eve of the operation, Emilia stood before the assembled task force, her eyes sweeping across the sea of determined faces. She knew that these were the finest warriors humanity had to offer, individuals who had dedicated their lives to the protection of their people. And now, they were poised to face their greatest challenge yet. "My fellow humans," Emilia began, her voice rich with emotion, "we stand upon the precipice of a momentous moment in our history. The Galactic Council has tested our resolve, has sought to break our spirit and our unity, but they have failed to understand the true strength of the human race." She paused, letting her words sink in, her gaze unwavering. "Today, we march not only to defend our own honor, but to protect the innocent lives that have been cruelly taken from us. The Galactic Council has committed an unforgivable sin, and we are the instruments of their reckoning." A cheer rose up from the assembled soldiers, their battle cries echoing through the corridors. Emilia raised her hand, silencing them with a gentle gesture. "I know the risks we face, the dangers that await us. But I also know that we are more than a match for the Galactic Council's might. We are the children of a planet that has weathered countless storms, that has overcome every challenge that has been thrown our way. And today, we will prove to the galaxy that humanity is a force to be reckoned with." Emilia's words were met with a roar of approval, the soldiers' faces alight with a fierce determination. As they dispersed to their assigned stations, Emilia allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection, her mind racing with the enormity of the task that lay ahead. "For the children," she whispered, her eyes steeling with resolve. "For all of us." With that, Emilia turned and strode towards the command center, ready to lead her people into the greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen. The stars twinkled silently in the vast expanse of space as the human fleet made its final approach towards the Galactic Council's heavily fortified homeworld. Emilia Raines, her gaze fixed on the tactical displays before her, felt the weight of the impending conflict settling upon her shoulders. This was the moment they had been preparing for, the culmination of weeks of meticulous planning and the unwavering determination of the human race. The Galactic Council, once seen as an untouchable bastion of power, was about to face the full force of humanity's rage. As the fleet drew closer, Emilia could feel the tension palpable in the air. The soldiers and officers around her poised for action, their hands gripping their weapons with a mixture of trepidation and anticipation. She knew that the coming battle would be unlike anything they had ever experienced, a clash of civilizations that would test the very limits of human courage and resilience. "All units, report in." Emilia's voice rang out, clear and steady, belying the turmoil that churned within her. One by one, the various squadrons and support vessels checked in, their commanders confirming their readiness to engage the enemy. Emilia took a deep breath, her mind racing as she reviewed the intricate tactical plans they had devised. The human forces had been divided into specialized teams, each with a critical role to play in the operation. Some would act as diversionary forces, drawing the Galactic Council's attention away from the primary targets, while others would spearhead the assault, penetrating the enemy's defenses and securing the children's safety. "All units, stand by," Emilia said, her voice tinged with a sense of foreboding. "Remember your training and trust in one another. This is our moment to show the Galactic Council the true strength of the human spirit." A chorus of affirmations echoed through the communication channels, and Emilia felt a surge of pride in her fellow humans. They were no longer the primitive species the Galactic Council had dismissed. They were seasoned warriors, united in their determination to protect the innocent and to challenge the tyranny that had plagued the galaxy for far too long. As the fleet closed in on the Galactic Council's homeworld, Emilia's gaze was drawn to the towering citadel that loomed before them, its gleaming spires and impenetrable defenses a testament to the aliens' technological superiority. She knew that breaching its walls would be no easy task, but the fate of the children, and the very future of humanity, depended on their success. "All units, begin your attack run," Emilia commanded, her voice unwavering. "Diversionary forces, engage the enemy's outer defenses. Assault teams, focus on securing the central complex. We cannot afford to fail." The human fleet sprang into action, their sleek, advanced starships cutting through the void with precision and speed. Emilia watched with bated breath as the diversionary forces unleashed a barrage of sophisticated weaponry, their assault creating a maelstrom of chaos and confusion within the Galactic Council's defenses. Meanwhile, the assault teams, led by the most seasoned and skilled soldiers humanity had to offer, plunged deeper into the fray, their advanced infiltration tactics and cutting-edge technology, allowing them to overcome the enemy's formidable security measures. Emilia could feel her heart pounding in her chest as the battle raged on, the fate of the children hanging in the balance. As the fighting intensified, the Galactic Council's forces fought with a desperate ferocity, their superior numbers and technological advantages seemingly overwhelming the human onslaught. Emilia gritted her teeth, her hands clenched into fists as she watched the casualties mount on both sides. "We can't give up," she muttered, her eyes fixed on the tactical displays. "We have to keep pressing forward." Suddenly, a burst of static crackled through the communication channels, and Emilia's heart leaped into her throat as a familiar voice broke through the interference. "Ambassador Rains, this is Beta Team. We've breached the central complex and have secured the children. Repeat, we have the children. Requesting immediate extraction and medical support." Emilia felt a surge of relief and triumph wash over her, but the moment was short-lived as the Galactic Council's forces began to regroup, their counterattack gathering momentum. "All units, converge on the central complex," Emilia commanded, her voice laced with urgency. "We have to provide cover for the extraction teams. Do not let the Galactic Council retake that position." The human fleet surged forward, their weapons blazing as they sought to overwhelm the enemy's defenses. Emilia watched with a mixture of pride and trepidation as her fellow humans fought with a ferocity that belied their numerical disadvantage, their determination fueled by the knowledge that the lives of innocent children hung in the balance. The battle raged on for what felt like an eternity, the clash of advanced technologies and the clash of wills creating a deafening cacophony that shook the very fabric of the galaxy. Emilia, her eyes fixed on the tactical displays, barked out orders with a calm authority that belied the turmoil within her. Suddenly, a new signal appeared on the screens, and Emilia felt her breath catch in her throat. The Galactic Council's reinforcements had arrived, their massive warships emerging from the shadows like titans of old. "All units, brace for impact," Emilia cried, her voice tinged with a sense of dread. "We have to hold our ground at all costs." The human fleet braced itself as the Galactic Council's ships opened fire, their devastating weaponry raining down upon the beleaguered human forces. Emilia watched in horror as several of their ships were destroyed, their crews lost to the unforgiving void of space. But even in the face of such overwhelming odds, the human warriors refused to yield, their resolve hardening with every passing moment. Amelia could see the determination in their eyes, the unwavering belief that they were fighting for a cause greater than themselves. "We can't give up now," Amelia whispered, her voice barely audible over the din of battle. "We have to keep going." As the fighting reached a fever pitch, Amelia caught sight of the extraction teams making their way towards the shuttles, the rescued children clutched tightly in their arms. A wave of relief washed over her, but she knew that their mission was far from over. "All units provide cover for the extraction teams," Amelia ordered, her voice ringing with authority. "We can't let the Galactic Council recapture those children, no matter the cost." The human fleet surged forward, their weapons blazing with a renewed fury as they sought to create a safe passage for the extraction teams. Amelia watched with bated breath as the shuttles lifted off, their precious cargo finally free from the clutches of the Galactic Council's cruelty. But the battle was far from over. As the Galactic Council's ships closed in, Amelia knew that they were facing a desperate last stand. The human forces were battered and bruised, their resources dwindling with every passing moment. "This is it," Amelia muttered, her eyes narrowing with determination. "We have to give everything we've got." With a deep breath, Amelia issued her final orders, her voice ringing with a sense of finality. The human fleet surged forward, their weapons unleashing a devastating barrage that shook the very foundations of the Galactic Council's defenses. The battle raged on, a clash of civilizations that shook the very fabric of the galaxy. But as the smoke cleared and the dust settled, Amelia Raines stood tall, her eyes gleaming with triumph. The Galactic Council's reign of terror had been shattered, their mighty fleet reduced to a mere shadow of its former self. And in the wake of the battle, the human race emerged victorious, their unwavering determination and resourcefulness having triumphed over the aliens' technological superiority. Amelia turned to her fellow humans, her expression solemn but filled with pride. "We have won the day," she said, her voice resonating with a quiet power. "But the cost has been high. Let us never forget the sacrifices that have been made, and let us use this victory as a reminder that the human spirit is indomitable." As the human fleet began the long journey home, Amelia Raines knew that the scars of this battle would never truly heal. The horrors they had witnessed, the lives they had lost, would haunt them for years to come. But she also knew that this victory was just the beginning of a new era, one where the human race would stand tall and unafraid, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might throw their way. For in the end, the Galactic Council had underestimated the power of humanity's resolve, and they would pay a heavy price for their arrogance. The age of human dominance had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. As the human fleet made its triumphant return to Earth, a palpable sense of celebration swept through the streets of the world's major cities. Crowds gathered, waving flags and cheering wildly, their voices lifted in a joyous chorus that echoed across the globe. Amelia Raines, standing on the bridge of the flagship, gazed out at the sea of humanity, her expression a mix of pride and profound sorrow. The victory they had achieved had come at a heavy price, with many brave souls having laid down their lives to secure the freedom of the alien children. And as she looked into the eyes of those children, now safe and sound, she knew that their scars would never truly heal. But even in the face of such immense tragedy, Amelia could not help but feel a sense of awe and reverence for the sheer determination and resilience of the human spirit. The Galactic Council, with all their vaunted technological might, had underestimated the ferocity of humanity's response, and they had paid dearly for their arrogance. As the fleet docked and the rescued children were reunited with their families, Amelia found herself at the center of a whirlwind of media attention and political maneuvering. World leaders clamored to speak with her, eager to understand the implications of the Galactic Council's defeat and to chart a path forward for humanity's place in the galaxy. Yet, even amidst the chaos, Amelia remained steadfast, her focus laser-sharp as she navigated the complex web of international politics. She knew that the battle was far from over, that the Galactic Council would not simply accept their humiliation and retreat into the shadows. The Galactic Council will not rest until they have exacted their revenge, Amelia warned, her voice grave as she addressed the assembled heads of state. We must be vigilant, and we must be prepared to defend our hard-won victory at all costs. The leaders listened, their expressions somber, for they too had borne witness to the Galactic Council's ruthless determination and their vast technological superiority. The thought of facing such a formidable foe once more filled them with a sense of dread, but Amelia's unwavering resolve and her unwavering belief in the human spirit inspired them to action. Then we must forge a new alliance, one that will stand as a bulwark against the Galactic Council's aggression, the President of the United Nations declared, his eyes alight with a renewed sense of purpose. We must unite the galaxy and show the Galactic Council that their reign of terror is at an end. Amelia nodded, her mind already racing with the intricate details of the plan that was beginning to take shape. She knew that the path ahead would be fraught with peril, but she was more than willing to shoulder the burden, for the sake of the children they had rescued and for the sake of the entire human race. In the days and weeks that followed, a whirlwind of diplomatic activity swept across the globe, as Amelia and her fellow ambassadors reached out to the various alien civilizations that had long been cowed by the Galactic Council's dominance. One by one, they forged alliances, building a powerful coalition that stood in defiance of the alien tyrants. The Galactic Council, sensing the shifting tides of power, grew increasingly desperate, their attacks on the human-led alliance becoming more brazen and more savage with each passing day. But the human forces, bolstered by the technological and military might of their newfound allies, refused to be cowed, their determination only growing stronger with each battle. Amelia, her face hardened by the trials of war, stood at the center of the maelstrom, her voice ringing with a clarity and conviction that inspired her fellow humans and their newfound allies alike. She had become a symbol of humanity's unwavering spirit, a beacon of hope in a galaxy that had long been shrouded in darkness. As the conflict raged on, Amelia found herself drawn deeper into the heart of the struggle, her diplomatic skills and strategic acumen proving invaluable in the ever-shifting landscape of interstellar politics. She forged alliances, negotiated treaties, and rallied her fellow humans to action, all the while never losing sight of the ultimate goal, the complete and utter destruction of the Galactic Council's tyrannical reign. The battles that followed were fierce and unrelenting, with both sides pouring every last ounce of their resources into the conflict. Amelia watched with a mixture of pride and anguish as her fellow humans fought with a ferocity that belied their numerical disadvantage, their courage and determination fueling their every action. But even as the human-led alliance pushed the Galactic Council back, inch by agonizing inch, Amelia could not shake the nagging sense of foreboding that had taken root in her heart. She knew that the Galactic Council would not go down without a fight, and that their final desperate gambit could be the undoing of everything they had worked so hard to achieve. And then it happened. A massive fleet of Galactic Council warships, their weapons charged and their crews baying for blood, descended upon the human-led alliance, intent on annihilating them once and for all. Amelia, her eyes narrowed with determination, rallied her fellow commanders, her voice ringing with a clarity that belied the turmoil that churned within her. "This is it, my friends," she said, her gaze sweeping across the assembled faces. "The Galactic Council has thrown everything they have at us, and now we must stand firm and defend all that we hold dear." The human-led forces surged forward, their weapons blazing with a ferocity that shook the very foundations of the Galactic Council's armada. Amelia watched, her heart pounding in her chest, as the two mighty fleets clashed, their ships colliding in a maelstrom of fire and fury. The battle raged on for what felt like an eternity, with neither side willing to surrender an inch of ground. Amelia, her hands gripping the edge of the command console, barked out orders with a calm authority that belied the chaos that surrounded her. "Hold the line," she cried, her voice ringing with a sense of urgency. "We cannot falter, not now, not when we are so close to victory." The human-led forces fought with a determination that bordered on the suicidal, their weapons cutting through the Galactic Council's ships with a precision that defied the odds. Amelia felt a surge of pride in her fellow humans, their unwavering courage and resilience a testament to the indomitable spirit that had carried them through the darkest of times. But even as the battle raged on, Amelia could not shake the nagging sense of dread that had taken root in her heart. She knew that the Galactic Council would not surrender, that they would unleash their full might in a desperate bid to annihilate the human-led alliance once and for all. And then it happened. A massive energy surge rippled through the Galactic Council's fleet, and Amelia's eyes widened in horror as she realized what was about to happen. "All ships, brace for impact," she cried, her voice laced with a sense of pure terror. "They've activated their doomsday weapon." The human-led forces scattered, their ships desperately trying to evade the devastating blast that was about to be unleashed. But Amelia knew that it was too late, that the Galactic Council had chosen to sacrifice their entire fleet in a final desperate attempt to destroy their enemies. As the energy blast ripped through the void of space, Amelia braced herself, her eyes squeezed shut as she waited for the inevitable. But the impact never came. Instead, a blinding flash of light filled the void, and Amelia felt the very fabric of the universe shift around her. When she opened her eyes, the Galactic Council's fleet had vanished, consumed by the power of their own doomsday weapon. But the human-led alliance had somehow survived, their ships battered and broken, but still intact. Amelia stared in disbelief, her mind struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what had just occurred. The Galactic Council, in their final desperate act of defiance, had destroyed themselves, their own hubris and thirst for power proving to be their undoing. As the dust settled and the human-led forces began to assess the damage, Amelia knew that the battle was finally over. The Galactic Council's reign of terror had come to an end, and the galaxy was now free to chart a new course, one that would be guided by the principles of justice, compassion, and the unwavering spirit of the human race. Amelia turned to her fellow commanders, her expression solemn but filled with a sense of triumph. "It is over," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Galactic Council is no more, and the galaxy is ours to rebuild." As the human-led alliance began the long journey home, Amelia knew that the scars of this conflict would never truly heal. The lives that had been lost, the horrors that had been witnessed, would forever haunt the hearts and minds of those who had fought so hard to secure this victory. But even in the face of such immense tragedy, Amelia could not help but feel a sense of hope and optimism for the future. The human race had proven that they were more than a match for the most formidable foes, and that their determination and resilience were the keys to their survival in the vast expanse of the cosmos. As the Earth came into view, Amelia stood on the bridge of the flagship, her gaze fixed on the distant horizon. She knew that the road ahead would be a long and arduous one, but she was more than ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. For the Galactic Council's cruelty had ignited a fire within the hearts of the human race, a fire that would burn brighter with each passing day, a constant reminder that the protection of the innocent would always be their highest priority. And as Amelia Raines stepped off the shuttle, she knew that this was only the beginning of a new era, one where humanity would take its rightful place among the stars, a beacon of hope and justice in a galaxy that had for too long been shrouded in darkness.